All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Before we get started, please be sure to like, comment, as well as subscribe. But guys, let's talk about it. The Bills today on Thursday, moving the Bills game on Sunday to Detroit, to Ford Field against the Browns because of weather being a factor in this one. The NFL saying having the ultimate call of doing this. Mike, what do you make of this decision?
Yeah, I think they had to make this call because the snow is coming on Friday in Western New York. And for those who aren't from Western New York and don't know the logistics of it, this is really centered right on Buffalo. Like, we're an hour away now, an hour in the other direction, limited to no snow. So they don't really know just how bad it was going to be. The league could not take the chance of saying, yeah, we think we can get it cleaned up in time for Sunday to play. It could be state of emergency time in that part of Western New York. So the smart move, make the decision, get the team to Detroit, go play the game there. Happen to be that stadium is open. It's a place they've done this before. I think it was the prudent move, the smart move, and it also helps the team on the field.
Yeah, and it also, all of this was exacerbated by the fact that the Bills were also playing on Thursday. So they didn't have this
window.
They didn't have this long time to sit and wait. And when Jen and I were up there on Wednesday, Sean McDermott said, no, there really hasn't been any talks. And we had kind of been hearing that, hey, the game's going to go on as scheduled, maybe push it to a 4:25 start. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, hey, they're moving.
Yeah, Dan makes a good point, Jenna. I was going to say about that. By the league rules, by the Players Association, you couldn't play this game on Monday and turn around and ask them to play on Thursday. And it's not just a Thursday game. It is Thanksgiving in Detroit. And for Detroit fans, they're not moving that game. They have no reason to. So this game needed to be played Sunday, and logistically, they get it done. There's still some things to work out.
Let's talk a little bit more about logistics because we know the NFL, these players, they are creatures of habit. So the Bills' plan right now is for them to fly home after the game on Sunday, back to Buffalo. And then you mentioned they have that game in Detroit a couple days later. And Brandon Beane talked about what goes into everything in terms of getting the players back to Buffalo. But, I mean, some people are saying, hey, just stay out in Detroit. Mike, you heard Brandon Beane talk about it. That's not exactly what would work best for this team and getting them ready.
I think most fans know this, but maybe they don't always know. When a team plays a game Sunday at 1 o'clock, they used to say 5 hours from kickoff to takeoff. It's maybe a little more than that, but it's maybe about 6 hours. By 7 o'clock, they are flying back. That's what happens. So the norm in the NFL, you travel on Saturday, you go back on Sunday. That's what they're going to attempt to do. And the idea of saying, well, just stay in that city. This is not a basketball team. 12 guys, you get a gym, you practice for the day. Seriously, and there's rehab, and there's everything that goes on for players post-game. So the idea is you play that game. Dan, if all goes well, they're back in Orchard Park by 9 o'clock or whatever time on Sunday. They don't go back again till Wednesday.
Well, and I think it's also a sense of fans saying, well, other teams stay over and do these things. That's a West Coast trip. That's a West Coast trip when they're maybe playing San Fran and then L.A., and what that happens is you don't want to mix up time zones. It's longer flights. It's all of those things. The fact of the matter is that's also decided pretty early in the season when the schedule comes out. They're not all of a sudden finding practice facilities, finding training facilities, finding team rooms, all of a sudden on a whim in 3 days.
Those trips are actually somewhat arranged by the team with the NFL. They'll tell the league, keep us out west. We're going to stay there for the week in between. They don't really want teams flying back and forth. In this case, it's not a long trip. Now, here's an issue. If there is snow and there is going to be Saturday, Brandon Beane said they would go to the league. Teams do not travel on the day of the game. It doesn't happen. It did happen, I think, in COVID. I think it was the Ravens.
I think
Maybe they got stuck that one time. It's not the norm. They could do it. That would not be ideal.
Could they push it
the morning of the game.
Could they push that game back to 4:25 and
I guess there's always the possibility that they could do that.
I mean, if the Bills can't get there, what are they going to be like? You got to wait for the team.
Because there are logistical things, and they have decided to do this. So it's traveling, but all said and done, this is what teams do all the time. And they would play. It just wouldn't normally be a road game and then the Thursday game that way. It would have been at home and then the Thursday game.
It makes it a very unique situation. But talking about what we were expecting for the weather in Buffalo on Sunday, in Orchard Park, that wind, there'd be residual snow. I mean, Dan, this sets up pretty well for this Bills offense to be able to go to Ford Field, which is a dome, and have weather not affect this game at all.
No excuse in this one, right? There's no excuse for Josh Allen having to deal with wind or snow or keeping, what do you call him? Keeping his suckers warm, his toes, when he said he had to deal with that in the snow game or the cold game. So there is no excuse here for this Bills offense not to bounce back. The entire playbook. They even talked about how the Cleveland Browns had 2 different game plans. One if they were going to play inside, one if they were going to play an outside. You now know the Bills are going with their A game. They can go with their passing attack. Ken Dorsey has the entire playbook to his disposal. And this is a game where you have to kind of get right because the Cleveland Browns defense, I've said it before, but the Bills have played some awful defenses. This defense stinks, and they need to put up points.
They still have Myles Garrett. And they have Jadeveon Clowney, who has not played well this year.
Is he really? Is he on the team?
Yeah. But their secondary.
I was 10 years old when I figured that out.
Today, their secondary has issues.
There's
and
opportunity.
They've given up a ton. There is.
That's
and they've made mistakes. Yeah. They've lost 5 out of 6. They've got Jacoby Brissett, who's a nice backup quarterback. We saw him in the snow game playing
Nice guy.
for the Colts. He's one of those guys that's good to have in the league. He can make some plays, but he's not a star quarterback. So, look, there's advantage, Bills, to this one. It's funny that the Browns said they had 2 game plans. Browns' game plan, first and foremost, should be run the ball with Nick Chubb.
50 touches for Chubb.
I was going to say, because the Bills' rush defense has struggled.
They
over these
stink in rush defense.
Exactly. Yeah. So I get that this is not as a team for the Browns that is not playing well as of recently, or really.
No,
but at the same point, there's that potential there, Dan.
But here's another thing, too, and it's, again, context these things. The Bills had the best rushing defense the first 6 weeks of the season.
Because, okay, sorry.
No, why?
They were winning.
Because they were winning. And you can't,
So take that away from teams. Don't let them run it.
So you're saying they should get the lead.
That would be helpful.
Should they score more points?
They are playing in a dome, which is indoors.
Yeah.
So that's a factor.
Is water wet?
But, like, even going back to the Packers game, when they started to give up these runs, it was like, well, who cares? They're down 20 points. They're just trying to run the clock out. But then when that kind of has snowballed.
Jets, yeah.
Yeah, there's one thing doing what the Packers do. They got 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. Last week, up 17, he goes 80
Not
for
great,
the touchdown.
Not great.
And that is a big play that you can't give up. That is a forgotten massive play in that game. It's, if you can forget an 80-yarder because of all the other nonsense that went on.
That was
but to allow
game.
a team to score in 15 seconds or whatever that whole play took and get it back to 10 that quickly was a pretty big thing. So, and then it went back and forth that way. But in most cases, you get the lead, you keep the pressure on.
Yeah.
Then you can run some clock a little bit. But the Bills should be able to do that with their passing game, too. And I think Josh even said that again. As Dan has said, Josh listens to him. Use the passing game
Big
as your
subscriber.
run game.
Big Buffalo Plus subscriber.
I think he's got a hat.
Yeah.
He does. All right, let's talk about it. Dan, the Bills have lost back-to-back games. What do you expect for this game against the Browns?
Last week, I thought it was the get-right game that you had to kind of bounce back. This, I think you just need to get out any way possible with a win. I think the offense will be better. I have confidence that Josh Allen can right the ship. He has shown it. He can do it in the past. He was even asked about how do you keep that confidence, and he goes, you keep shooting. Steph Curry, if he misses his first 7 threes, doesn't pass up the 8th one. He's going to keep shooting. He just needs to be smarter with the ball. That being said, I do have some concerns that Nick Chubb can have a field day against this defense, so maybe a little bit more back and forth than is for comfort. But 30-24, Bills get the win.
Okay, I also have the Bills winning this game. I know I talked earlier about that run defense for the Bills and how it's a concern for me. I think, though, that even more than that, this Bills team needs to win in this game. They've had back-to-back losses, very uncharacteristic under Sean McDermott. This is a game that I think you need to score points, and you need to score a lot of them. I have the Bills winning this one pretty handily at that 31-10 because I think the Bills, if, like you said, Ken Dorsey has the ability to open up the playbook. Weather is not going to be a factor. You get up big, and then the Browns can't rush. We also got to talk to John Doss, who is a Browns reporter, and he talked about how this Cleveland team has really kind of given up because of how the season is going, where things are at right now. I think the Bills need to proverbially step on
big words all
the
around
Browns'
here.
throat in this game to prove that they are that team that everyone expects them to be.
You said prudent, I said exacerbate, and she said
I tried.
Proverbially. But you're the host, so you can say that. Here's what I want to tell you about this game. This past week, this kind of stuff doesn't normally bother me, but for whatever reason this week, I would hear all the national guys, and I'm going to say the name, and you guys are going to get mad, Nick Wright. And he was talking about the Bills, and he was talking about Josh Allen. And normally when I hear him, I say it's nonsense. But Josh gave him life to this team. That he can't come through in big moments. He turns the ball over too much. And these past couple weeks, he's played that way. And I think as much as players say they don't pay attention to stuff, it wasn't just a moment. This has been 2.5 games of dumb mistakes, giving away 2 games, and nearly letting the Packers get back into that game. I think they bounce back this week. I think Allen, while he's been limited at practice, why this team has had some illness go through the place, there has been some things. I think this trip to Detroit is going to be a good thing for them. I think playing the game there is going to be a positive for them. I don't know why. Yes, at home, all those things, but they just had a tough game at home. I think going to Detroit in the Dome, Ford Field, is going to be a good thing. I have the Bills winning it 31-17. They're the better team. They get the lead, and they take care of business.
A lot of people are now counting out the Bills in terms of those Super Bowl expectations. Look, we know the Bills are favorites in this game against Cleveland, but you know Buffalo hears that. And, Dan, we know that they love to be in that spot when everyone doubts them.
And you know who else is always hearing everything? The football gods.
Football gods. Von Miller.
Von Miller talking about how football gods, they see it how you win, they see it how you lose, they see it how you...
They're going to need them on their side come later in the season. They're testing them.
Yes.
The football gods are testing the Bills right now.
Von Miller believes in football god karma as well.
He
so
does.
they're trying to be on their
12th year in the league for Von Miller.
And Von loves the football gods.
Loves Myles Garrett.
Everything.
Yeah,
loves Myles Garrett.
He really does.
He loves everything.
I was going to make a quip, but he really does.
Including linguine and clams at
Von's linguine.
That's it.
Von's clams.
That's it.
Linguine.
Von's clams.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. For Mike and Dan, I'm Jenna. Please be sure to have your comment be your prediction for this game. As always, subscribe as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus.